Possible, I will stand because I don't like to sit. I would prefer to walk, but okay, we will manage. So, buongiorno a tutti. This is my Italian, so I'm finished here. So, I wish to thank the organizers for inviting me today to be here with you. Well, it was quite a trip from Zagreb to come to Foggia, but I'm very happy to be here and to share with you my information and maybe my experience about digital technologies and the implementation in educational process. So I have quite, I would say, catchy title of my presentation. I hope that it will be justified within my presentation, because now this is just perfect moment to reflect about teaching methods we use now and how education can look like now after our experience with COVID and when we move to the fully online. So, but just briefly, before I start with my presentation, to tell you something about me. So you see, I'm quite old person because I have 25 years already in working in implementation of digital technologies in education and support to institutions, teachers, and students in use of digital technologies in education. Most time I'm a manager because I'm assistant director at University Computing Center at University of Zagreb. Also, I'm president of European Distance and E-Learning Network, EDEN. Also, I'm heading the e-learning center, the University Computing Center, which is the national e-learning center for higher education in Croatia. So if we will have some time, I can share with you some information about this. I'm trainer because I work a lot with teachers, helping them to learn which technologies to use and how to integrate them into educational process. I'm a teacher because I have some courses which I teach to the PhD students and to the students of, oh, great, thank you. Yeah, much better. And the students of the higher level of study. Also, I'm a learner. I'm a lifelong learner because every day I can learn something new, and I'm always very happy to learn something. Well, I did my master online. Okay. They are helping me to manage. I see, well, I did my master online, so I do understand how it is to be a student. Also, I know how to be a teacher in online because I have some online courses, and I did my PhD in information communication technologies. But basically, my primary profession is the chemist. So I finished the Faculty of Science. And above all, I love my job. I love what I do. What I want during this presentation is that I'm not the only one who is talking. I would like to have feedback from you. So if you have some comments in the chat, I'm going to open the chat. Okay, you are still and saying hello. Okay, how to minimize it, but if you want to comment something in the chat, I'm very happy to hear, or if you can come online with voice, also in here in the room. So I don't want this to be my presentation just from me to you, and that you sit and after 10 minutes think, oh my God, she's so boring, I will die when it's going to finish. So please be active, ask, comment, dispute with me. So anything that we make this something interesting. So I'll start from some pictures. Okay, I have to. So this is how teaching was in the 19th century. This is 20th century. This is 21st century, but also we have some examples of this in 21st century. And this is the COVID online. Question to all of us, which picture we want to have tomorrow? So how much did we evaluate, how much did we grow during the time, and how much are we prepared to make something different, or we are very satisfied with the way how it's going? I'm certain that all of you are quite aware of transformation of higher education. We have in 2004 and 5, we had the start of Bologna process. I'm certain that you all know the Bologna process, which required significant transformation of higher education system, and we are still coping with this Bologna process. What we had was teacher-centered model, which was based on a knowledge delivery. So this was just like I'm doing now. I'm passing information to you. You are passively sitting, receiving this information, not questioning, just taking it as it is. These were mostly classroom lectures, apart from the practical work, field work, laboratories, and things, but mostly classroom lectures. And assessment, assessment was done by teachers, and it was summative assessment dominantly. On the other hand, what we want to do is to make shift to the student-centered model, where student is active participant, also in charge of his or her own results. So we have active inclusion of learning, interaction, and information processing. Teachers are designing teaching methods and learning environment for students. We focus much more on the group work. And here we do not have only assessment of learning, but now we have assessment for learning, formative assessment, which can be done by teachers, by students, like peer assessment or self-assessment. So we have new modalities of assessment. Definitely issue of online assessment is something which is very important, but it's very wide and complex, and it will take quite a lot of time. So I will not go today into this. What we have to think today is, who are our students? I often remember when my teacher told me after I started to work, and I started with training of teachers, and he told me, why should I change anything? Look how well you will become. You were my students. I taught you in a teacher-centered model, and you are quite okay. Why should I change something? Or when teacher tells me, okay, I'm a physicist. Nothing has happened significant in physics for 20 or 30 years now. What should I change? I always have to present the same content, and I don't see the need to change anything. So these are challenges which we have to tackle in order to explain to teachers, maybe the content didn't change, but the environment has changed, the people has changed. Now we are facing students today who are post-millennials or generation alpha. In a few years, coming to the university, we will have only students who are from the 21st century born. So who were born around digital technologies and doesn't know the life without them. So they are surrounded by information. They are having online communication all the time, using multimedia on the global level. Cell phones, computers, gadgets, they're integral part of their life. I cannot explain to my daughter that she can sleep without a cell phone. It's not going to happen anything, but nevertheless, she always have it under the pillow, just to be sure that she will not miss any information, you know? And that is for majority of students. Mostly we are all available 24/7. Even when we are asleep, if phone is ringing, usually we respond, you know? So our students today have quick adoption of information because in my time, and in Tommaso time, so that I'm not only one mature here. Yes. How did we have information? We went to the university. Teacher had all the information. We went to the library to find some information. And we were happy when we had some books which were in our language, so that we have something to study from. And this was basically all the information we could get. Today, information is present everywhere. Everywhere, on one touch, you can get information. Today, we have different situation. Today, we have to find out in this sea of information, which of course can be fake information as well, how to find the right information, the true information which we need. So from the time when we had to search for information, now today we have to choose the information which is good for us. And that is why, and we cannot receive all the information which is around us. We have to choose which information we will take, because there are too many of them. In that way, our attention, not only students, our attention becomes shorter, because we are constantly bombarded with informations. We are doing multitasking all the time. For example, you're listening to me, responding to the message, thinking about something, taking pictures, writing something different. So we are all doing lots of things, especially women who still have the home things to do apart from everything. And also what students today like is visual stimulation. So they are bored with lots of text. So just text is nothing for them. They need pictures, they need animation, they need simulation, videos, audio, podcasts. This is something which brings much more attention to students than just pure text. And we all like words and praise, especially our students, because this is, as a society as such today, which is very competent, and we are losing our self-confidence. So we need to set someone to say to us, you are good, you did well. And so this is why today we have digital badges, for example, which can bring some satisfaction to students and knowledge that they have done something well. What we think also that is important is that we know that market is expecting that students that come out of the universities have skills which are needed for them to be employable, because the jobs are not anymore from 7 to 3 or 8 to 4, and then you go home and you have nothing to do with anything. Today, when you come home, you still work, you still learn. So things are changing. And it's important that our students coming out of the university have the skills which will enable them to be fully functionable in society as citizens, as workers, and also that they can contribute to the society as such. You cannot expect that your students are able to, for example, do e-banking, buying online, shopping online. For example, what we did in Croatia, we did online counting of the citizens. So you cannot expect that people know such things if they didn't learn it somewhere. So if you deprive the students from the technologies, and they have mostly classroom teaching and learning, how will they know to use online digital technologies for everyday life? So we have to adapt our teaching, our curricula, our study programs, so that we do not assess only knowledge, but skills as well. So I will not go through all these skills and competences students need. This is something which is quite known to you. But also I will just share, I recently found this picture, how an employee is looking today. Here it should say be not future, but today, you know? So you see how it has changed, working from 9 to 5, work anytime, anywhere, using any device, sharing information, creating their own ladders, how to advance, collaboration technologies. So completely different from what was before. And we have to be aware of that. We are making transition in other parts of society, in entrepreneurship, in, for example, the cars. Today we have electric cars. How did we adapt to that? How did it pass? Why is it so difficult in education? In my time, I still know how to use the phones which had where you have to dial. Now you just tap or say something and you call someone. How did we adapt to that? Why did it go smoothly? Why is we still have some problems in education regarding digital technologies? So my first thing is that I would like to discuss with you, what was your experience with online learning in pandemic? How your students reacted to the classes that you have prepared online? And do you plan to integrate gained experience during pandemic in your teaching? So you can put anything, your comments in chat, but if you have the mic open, I'm happy to hear you online, but also you in the room. Please not make me just the only speaker. I would very much like to hear your feedback as well. So I'll give my.
Yes, thank you, Professor. Speaking about that, we are currently being part in an Erasmus Plus project in which we are investigating psychological and technological resilience from a psychology student during the pandemic. And we administered a pilot test to our psychology students, and I collect some feedbacks. And they found the pilot test, we provide them very interesting, because we focused about feelings, about the emotion they were feeling during the time they were facing a screen during the lessons. And they found that very interesting, and they were very motivated to answer, because one of the best feedback, the most common, was that it was an unusual way to answer to a survey, speaking about their emotion and their feelings. They didn't found so much surveys, so much questionnaires that asked them about feelings. They told me that they had questionnaires that asked them what tools did they use, how was their connection, their internet connection, if it was stable. Questionnaires that talked about digital tools. But they were really happy speaking about their feels and their emotion, because they faced kind of rough times, facing only a screen without being in presence with their schoolmates. So what can I say is that we are facing this, of course, and that we are learning what we just thought about this period, that actually students were they felt much more difficulties that we could imagine.
Thank you. I think that pandemic brought one good thing out, is well-being of teachers and students, something which existed always, but somehow suddenly we realized that it exists. I know that it's difficult when you are online, and maybe you are all cooking, drinking somewhere coffee, ironing or vacuuming the flat. But I would be very happy to see that there are some comments. Okay, we see we have Donatella is saying, my students were very surprised that they could be involved in active and collaborative learning even at a distance, and they were very pleased. Yeah, I think that showed that students did quite well reacted to this online situation. Of course, there were better or less better examples, but it's very important that we acknowledge their readiness for online, and they are getting around. So if any other comments come. Okay, Beatrice says that they thank her because it was for them the only occasion they had to interact with each other. Okay, it's just showing that in classroom there are not so much interaction, although they are face-to-face all the time. So thank you for your comments. I will move on because I have prepared quite a number of slides, and I would like that you see at least some of them. So we can summarize that COVID pandemic was the biggest disruption in education in history. So we had to completely adapt to work, study, and live in an online environment. So the first attempt, you know, the spring of 2020 was really hard. But also it brought the bigger divide in society because of people who didn't have access to the internet. Also the people didn't have digital skills, so that was also the problem because they were not able to participate in the online environment, apart from those who were skilled already. So, you know, when we think about it, actually, when we send our children to universities, we send them to be there, to go to the classroom and to study in the classroom. We didn't send them to be online, working from somewhere, another place. And many teachers, many parents didn't buy computers to their children when they have sent them to the university because they were going to the classes. They do not need computers as such. So this was divide in a sense that some of the students, when pandemic started, had to give up on studying because they didn't have the possibilities to be online. And also they're coming from the smaller villages and cities where no good internet, or perhaps in the family there are 5 or 4 or 6 children, they cannot have the same computer all the time. So this is something we has also become quite aware that besides number of issues that digital technologies can bring, we have to be socially aware that not everyone is able to be online. What definitely we saw that our education institutions and teachers were unprepared for going online. We, I would say, flirted with digital technologies. We introduced them as addition to teaching mostly, but serious part of teaching and learning process in traditional universities was very rare. And also technology is seen as a complement rather than transform practice. What we saw actually was dominance of emergency remote teaching. And online education as such, which existed for quite a long time, was taken as a deficit model, as a second best. So it brings a lot of issues, which were not only issues regarding digital technologies, but the issues related to education as such, it brings them to the surface. What we witnessed is that teachers who had some knowledge about ICT and digital technologies, they knew how to get around and they managed. But those who didn't know and didn't use e-learning, for example, at all before, they had certain serious issues. What actually an e-course looks like, which technologies to use, how to use them, are they available? So a number of questions, and that brought significant stress to teachers, overload already. They had lots of things to do, and this was additional workload to them. And also, lack of digital skills was quite an issue for teachers, but as well for students, Because we say our students are quite digitally skilled. Yes, maybe in communication, maybe in texting information, setting the meetings, posting pictures, but not in learning. They do not know how to organize themselves in an online environment. They do not know how to use these technologies for learning. So there's a different issues. They were also quite stressed and confused by moving online. And I would like to say a few words about definitions which we are using. You know, we are quite often saying online education, e-learning, blended, hybrid. And I'm not sure that all of us have the same meaning about that. For example, I've been working on one project, and I recently found out that the person who was in charge of projects were talking all the time about open educational resources. And at the end, I found out that she means an online course. Yes, it can be online open education resource, but this is not the only open education resource. So we have to be careful when we talk about some things. We need to give some definitions or what we mean by that in order so that we do all understand what we mean. So just briefly, if we look at this picture of which is done by Tony Bates, I'm certain that many of you have heard of Tony Bates. He's, I would say, the most important and popular live expert on e-learning, although he's over 80. This is the picture he improved in 2020. Actually, he added just the HyFlex part. But if we look at this picture, on the one part, we have no technology. On the other part, we have fully online. What is important and what we have to be careful when we talk about is this in the middle part when we are talking about blended. Blended is face-to-face plus online part with use of ICT, but it can be just as classroom aid, you know, classroom learning with use of ICT, just as we are doing it now. It can be flipped classroom. I'm certain that many of you are aware what is flipped classroom. And it can be hybrid model. So model where, okay, so I'll put this down so that you see. Hybrid model is where you have actually planned amount of time, which is online and which is face-to-face. So this is not just addition, this is usually more than 50% of the course. And what is new is the HyFlex mode, which is something from 2018, when you have a courses planned in a way that it's already available to students in the different modes. So one day students can come to the classroom, next day he can decide he will watch it online, and the third day he doesn't have enough time, so he will look what was done asynchronously online. So the students can change it on a daily basis. So the teachers have already prepared course in the different modes to go in parallel for the courses. And this is something which has become, I would say, present during pandemic, because number of teachers organized their classes in a way that part of the class were online and part of the class came to the campus because they couldn't have the old students in the campus. So this is partially I would say unintended HyFlex, because this was not prepared for HyFlex. This was just delivery mode. But HyFlex teaching and learning is initially prepared as such. Okay. And just to say that emergency remote teaching is not online education. So it's a temporary shift from the way we were teaching to the online. And when disruption finish, it goes back to the way it is. So this is why today many teachers and institutions say we are going back to the classroom. Yes, they are going back to the classroom way of teaching and learning because study programs has been accredited for this way of teaching and learning. But what we can do, We can improve our study programs. We can change curricula, adapt them, and introduce digital technologies. So there, when one study program is accredited, it doesn't mean it cannot be reaccredited. So that is a point. And online education as such has been existing for over 50 years at least. We have very important and valuable online open universities in the world. And I know that in Italy, you have telematica universities, yes? So this is nothing new, but the wrong understanding between emergency remote teaching and online education is not good, because it brought harm to online education. Online education can be as of high quality, as of the same value as the classroom teaching, although sometimes classroom teaching also can be poor. When we are talking online, I've just like to say this is not only online lectures, because what we did in pandemic, we mostly shifted classroom lectures to online lectures. So lectures in online environments, synchronous online lectures. And that was good at the first moment, but can you have 2 hours classroom lecture in online environment of the same quality as a classroom lecture? No, in online environment, you have to have a shorter modules, more interactive, communicating with students, seeing if they are present or they have fallen asleep, because you cannot see their faces, so you have to use another teaching methods to organize it. So, but let's not forget, classroom teaching can also be asynchronous. Although, because we say usually online education is asynchronous, classroom teaching is also asynchronous. When you give students homework to read some course literature, this is asynchronous learning. Like online teaching can be synchronous and asynchronous as well. So what we have to question ourselves, when is physical presence necessary for teaching purposes? So is it necessary that teacher comes for 2 hours lecture in the classroom where they will sit, fall asleep, reading the messages, chatting online with colleagues, or it can be done in some different way? Maybe in a few recorded lectures, which can students listen on their own whenever they want. Maybe it can be done as a flipped classroom, so that students read in advanced materials and then come to the classroom and discuss. Maybe it can be done in a way that these are shorter synchronous online lectures done online. So there are a number of things. So we have to be certain why we need our students to be physically present. I'm not talking about the laboratories, practical works, field work. I'm talking about the theorist part of what we do in the classroom mostly. So when someone said, but what teaching is effective? Is it better to have classroom or online? There's not proper answer, because every course is different because of the topic, because of the students, because of the teacher, because of the environment. So different reasons influence each course, and every teacher will know the best how to organize its own course. But importance is of communication and interaction. Okay, what happened here? Oops. I did something, I don't know how to. Okay. Just briefly, this is the survey which was done by European Universities Association in 2020. It was done from April to June, but actually survey was on teaching and learning before the pandemic. So it was just the start of pandemic. So basically these are results before the pandemic. And you can see they said digitally enhanced learning and teaching as DELT. So more than half of institutions indicated that DELT is widely used. mainly for blended learning. Blended learning is the most popular delivery, digital delivery mode. Many more than 3/4 institutions are using digital blended learning within the institution or within the universities. They are positive about the benefits of DELT. And also what they see is important is revision of teaching methods and flexibility of learning, and also a positive attitude of teachers and students. Yes. In this survey, you can find it on the web. It was all European countries. More than 360 universities participated, but it was overall. It could be seen in the survey for some countries, if I recall, yes. But it's available on the European University Association web, and you can look for information there. So what we need to see that we have universities at the fork in the road. So what they are planning to do. What has been done during pandemic was not digital transformation at many situations. It was digitization and digitalization. So we moved from the papers to online, but it's not the process. It was just some actions. What we saw that we are missing the infrastructure, equipment, training for teachers, revision of study programs, and so on. And here I think it's important to look at a digital education action plan from 21 to 27, which was done by European Commission, which is giving us good guidelines what should be done. And actually between this digital education action plan, the new hub has started. It's in testing phase at the moment. It will, I think, be out from the July. And Eden is also participating in establishing of this hub. So I have at the moment the nightmares preparing some activities because the rules are so strict to do something. So I'm certain that digital education hub, when it comes out fully and will be open to everyone, will be of significant contribution to institutions to help them in direction how to develop digitally. Also, I think that we have to thank teachers for being patient and for working hard in order to ensure continuity of teaching and learning during pandemic. Actually, we want them to be supermans because we want them to be experts in their field, but also to have all possible skills needed, you know, that they are psychologically competent, they are green competent, they are digitally competent, and in a number of other ways competent, so that enable that teaching which they provide to students is really what they need. This is not an easy task. Usually in higher education, we do not have compulsory initial teacher training or continuous teacher training. So basically it's left mostly to the teachers to find out which courses, which training to do, and if they are have free time to do it. Also, what I mentioned earlier, we are usually doing assessment of knowledge, not of skills. Because, you know, when you create learning outcomes in your course, you have to create them in a way that you can assess knowledge and skills from the first year to the second, third, fourth. And this is not easy. That it requires some knowledge and competence in order to organize your courses in that way. And we need to provide to teachers support in that way, so to help them to train and help them to design courses in that way. So my second question to all of you is, do you think you have necessary digital skills to use and implement digital technologies in the education process? How often do you take some training programs in ICT and in learning? And do you have adequate support in preparation of and delivery of technology enhanced teaching and learning? So I would like to hear some of your comments on this, or just that you question yourself. How do you feel about this question? Anyone would like to comment?
Vorremmo solo dire alle persone collegate che se vogliono possono anche scrivere le domande in italiano o i commenti in italiano e noi li tradurremo alla professoressa.
Yeah, you can write in Italian. It's fine. I will find a translator. I have young people here who are skilled to do translation. So just to reflect, how much training did you do for the last 2 years in order to be able to do online teaching and learning? Did you take some training? And did you take training before the pandemic? Or now you decide that you need some training, or you do not need any training because you know you have already all digital skills? This is something we have to question us because we are speeding through our life, trying to do the best, but quite often forgetting on ourselves that we need to do some training and think about us. Okay, I think maybe people have fallen asleep already online. So yes.
Yeah, I've took some online courses for ECT training, especially for teacher training, and I found it really boring. Yeah, because I found it like the contents of these courses was very, I don't know, maybe taken for granted for me, or so obvious because maybe I'm a semi-digital native, so maybe the courses themselves should be updated for younger generations who maybe wants to be teachers and etc. And then with the teacher training courses here in the University of Foggia, we had some laboratories about digital storytelling, and they were very funny, even for people who train other people to do some digital storytelling, not only for the consumers and students. So
good, but do you think that if someone recommended to you some trainings, it would be better? Maybe they would not be so boring or so. I think that it is important that we have this support, you know, because as a teacher, you do not know which courses in ICT are good ones, where to find them. And it's good that you have some support because for example, you said you're semi-digital, but maybe the colleague is more advanced, or the colleague, she's at the beginning, she's a basic. You cannot attend the same training. You need different training. So basically tailored made trainings, what is needed today. First of all, we have to see what kind of digital skills we have, and based on that, to shape the training for teachers. And this is part of digital transformation process. So not to leave this to the teachers to find out on their own what and where, but to work on institutional level to see what teachers need, what skills they have, and then to shape and prepare the training course.
It's necessary to personalize the intervention with the technology to develop digital skills. I was looking these questions from you. Do you have necessary digital skills? Yeah, it's necessary. We are in the infosphere, so it's necessary, like teacher or like students. Then how often do you take some training? This year, I took the specialization like support teacher in the secondary school. So there is a course for DCT competencies skills. Yeah. And then do you have adequate support in preparation, the library? Yeah. Yeah. And you need to ask yourself a question of if you want to use in the a good way digital skill and the technology. How you need to ask to yourself how you can use it for yeah, raggiungere un obiettivo. Sorry, to yeah, why you are doing this. Yeah, okay, yeah, you need to have an object to take, yeah, to nothing. Yeah, sorry.
But thank you for answer. Yeah, what the colleague wanted to say is, yeah, we can learn how to use some technologies, but what is more important is how to integrate them into teaching and learning process, why we want to use them, you know, not to use technology per se, but to have clear idea what they can improve and how can they okay, see Stefano say, I have not received any training. And I think that in general, for many years to receive training is not so frequent. Well, that is a message to institutions that they have to think about it, because if we want our teachers to be excellent teachers, then we have to invest them as institution so that they have skills which are necessary. We cannot just leave these to teachers. Okay, specific professional figure. Yeah, well, Beatrice, I agree with you, but some training you can do like, you know, for many people, but some training will be designed especially for a certain group, small group of people, in order to enable them. This is why online education enables small modular courses, which actually enable teachers to choose this one, and this one, not to follow whole course. For example, I say this is like a mall. You go and shop for the courses you need, and you adjust them to yourself. And that way, I hope that students will have the same possibility maybe in a year when Blade Runner is 2034. Something like that. So support necessity is important. Let's move. I'll tell you something about the Croatia regarding higher education, because we are quite similar in, I would say, opinion and history of universities. So in Croatia, we have in higher education dominantly oriented to classical face-to-face teaching learning, campus-based learning. Digital technologies are mostly used as addition to enhance the quality of teaching and learning. We have few online accredited programs, about 13, 14, and these are only for part-time students. We have a strategy, but we are not following it. It's upon institutions and teachers to decide on implementation of digital technologies in their study programs and courses. So it's on a smaller level. Research part is dominant in relation to teaching, especially in the rules for advancement, and teaching efforts are not recognized nor awarded. So you can imagine teachers are fully enthusiastic about teaching based on this. Just I will show you the recent research which was done by the Croatian Agency for Science and Higher Education. I participated on behalf of University Computing Center and University of Rijeka, and I will show you the results of teachers, higher education teachers on pandemic, on the part of digital skills. So when we ask teachers that they self-evaluate their digital competencies, and we took from the DigiComp Edu framework the scale, you see most of them said they are have quite good digital competencies from B2 to C2. So this is the higher part. Then we ask them about how do they think they have, do they have good knowledge in the field of application of e-learning technologies? They said good and very good mostly. So numbers are great so far. But then we ask them for which part of teaching and learning they use ICT and e-learning technologies. Basically, how you use digital technologies in your courses. And you can see dominantly putting learning materials and for dissemination, information about the course. Then some communication, lectures online. even smaller amount, feedback to students, assessment, and collaboration and group work. So this is, if I'm following the development of teachers in digital part, and in relation to the survey, which I did in 2017, the only change is lectures online. Everything else is the same. So teachers did use digital technologies, but they didn't change teaching methods. And they identified competencies they need to be efficiently efficiently implement e-learning. So computer literacy is the first and is always the first. Now we have organization, adaptation, sharing, development, and publication of learning materials, setting clear goals and learning outcomes. Somehow online teaching and learning brought out even more the learning outcomes and learning objectives. I know that it's always very difficult to set learning outcomes, especially to connect them with assessment. But the online time brought this much more. Teachers recognize that they need competencies for that. And you can see the rest. Okay. Basically, in summary, teachers have good competencies. They are good in e-learning teaching application. They consider them digitally competent for e-learning application in higher education. They consider, they are sure and quite sure in choosing e-learning technologies, yet 46% of teachers is not sure about advantages of ICT. They are using them just because of pandemic, and they do not know how they could contribute to education or think that e-learning is not relevant for their teaching. So this is quite huge percentage of teachers. Almost half of the teachers have doubts about ICT and e-learning, and still they have not changed teaching methods when they're doing it online. Regarding the support and training, so they said they need professional development in digital technologies and in digital pedagogies, but they need support in preparation in development of teaching and learning, mostly in use of e-learning technologies, in use of ICT, and least in new teaching methods. So you see, we as a teachers are not even quite consistent ourselves. We find ourselves digital competent. We say we do not need some support in applying new teaching methods, but at the same time, we have not changed teaching methods, and we are doing it as we're doing before. Okay, I will skip this. Just to bring to your attention that in 1995, Tony Bates wrote a book on technology, open learning, and distance education. And he set 12 guiding principles for teaching with technologies. And if you look at these principles, they're still relevant 30 years after. So good teaching may overcome a poor choice in use of technology, but technology will never save bad teaching. So if you're doing poor teaching in the classroom, then moving online will not help you. If you're doing good teaching in classroom, then mostly you will do even better in online. Professional production and design is very important. This is related to the quality. Learners are not homogeneous mass. Today we have very diversified learners. We do not have anymore just 18 to 24. Our students are more mature. They are coming from different backgrounds, different cultures. So it's quite different to teach today than before. And things like that, teachers need training to use technologies efficiently. So men wrote this 30 years ago, and still we are coping with this. We didn't change much. Also, if you look at Educo's review about possible scenarios after pandemic, they said there are 3 scenarios. restore. We will be focused on figuring out what to do to get back to where we were before the pandemic, evolve on adapting to a new normal, transform. We will be focused on redefining our institution and taking an active role in creating the innovative future of higher education. So it's to all of you, which scenario will you choose? It's not shame to say first, second, or third, but we have to think ourselves really why we choose one scenario and what will bring it to us. If you look at the web pages of European Union today, European Commission, let's see what they are saying. Micro-credentials. This is hot. This is something which is going to be done and it's important. This is the future of higher education. So can we, with only classroom teaching, be able to adapt to use micro-credential? European Universities Initiative, very popular number of universities are participating in these initiatives. I'm certain that Foggia or Rome or any other university in Italy is participating in this initiative. European Student Card Initiative. We want our students to be able to study all around Europe and that their card is working on European level. Quality in higher education, inclusive and connected higher education, innovation in higher education. So these are just some of the topics which are very much on the agenda and in focus of European Union. How we as the persons, as individuals, and how our institutions are dealing with this. Are we able to contribute and be the part of European Union in this field? If you look at the UNESCO roadmap for higher education for next decade, this is something which is done in May 2022. Equitable and sustainable access to higher education, prioritizing a holistic student experience, lifelong learning approach, integrated system with program delivery and flexible learning pathways, technology in support of effective teaching, learning, and research. So we are bombed with a number of guidelines, policies, initiatives to do things differently in order to ensure the future of education of society. So why do we still think that education still have to be fully classroom based? These are just two books I would like to share. The first one, Future Skills, from my colleague Daniel Ehlers from Germany. It's in open access. I strongly recommend to you to read. The second one is book I wrote with my colleagues. It's in Croatian, so I know you will not be able to read it, but it's also in the open access. This one, which I wrote, is titled Digital Transformation, New Approaches and Challenges in Education. So, will everything be okay again as long as the students set foot on the physical campus? So, let's take example. Is it only way for students to learn to come to my classes, which I do, for example, on Thursdays from 10 to 12 in room A on the first floor? Is this the only way of learning? Let's ask ourselves. Or our students are doing lots of learning already online. Also, we saw that we survived the pandemic, that teaching and learning was possible online, that we brought flexibility, we showed adaptability, we survived. So let's not discard that so lightly. And third, our students succeeded in online space. It was hard, but they have succeeded. So can we go back to the pictures I showed you before, to the classroom teaching as such, and say everything we have done in pandemic should be discarded away? So now I have a question for you. So please, can you go to menti.com and use this code? And I will then try to show you the results. Is it possible? Is it working? Yeah, it's working. Okay, so I have a question for you. I didn't put it here, sorry. So, but my question is to you was, would you use e-learning in your courses, and that you choose some of the answers. And then someone will help me to move to the Menti so that we can show the results. I hope for at least 100 answers because we have more than 100 participants. So, and also if you have any questions for me, even the tough one, I'll be happy to answer them. I'm not finished, I still have a few slides, but you can always stop me and ask any question. So, okay, I'll sit and now try to go to Menti to see results. How am I going to do that? Okay. Sorry. Okay, we have, but can people see that online? Good. Yes?
Dunque, per le persone collegate, la professoressa ci sta chiedendo di rispondere a un questionario su Menti, quindi dovrete andare su menti.com e inserire il codice del questionario che è 1777. Can we provide them the code of the... Oh, yes, yes. Quindi andate sul vostro browser, digitate menti.com e inserite direttamente il codice 17776844. E sì, la professoressa lo sta scrivendo anche in chat. Grazie.
Do they see the results online? But okay, then I have to stop the presentation.
No, you are showing the screen, not the link.
Oh, I certainly. That I share the screen. Okay, so far we have 16 results. Okay, so this is the chance. This is a chance for you when you vote to stand a little to see the results. I hope that we can cheer all to come to a larger number than 18. It would be interesting to see what are your opinion. What is your opinion? So while I'm voting, I will go a little bit more with presentation, then when we will go back. Okay, you still have time to vote. I will go to my presentation because I have a few more slides, but it doesn't mean that you can vote. Okay, so just let me go. I think that today the message from my presentation to you would be, it's not more question, is it classroom or online, but how to combine both of these to ensure the best student learning experience. Because we have to prepare our students to be lifelong learners, skilled, able to live in a society and work society. In order to do that, we need skilled teachers who will be able to design such teaching and learning. So actually what we need to do is higher education that will be able to fulfill the needs of society. And now in the end, I want to say a few words about Eden, because Eden as an organization is working for over 30 years to help educators and education institutions in communication and talking and discussing the most present important topics related to digital learning and teaching. And we try to design, to get together all the community, to provide the space for discussion, communication, collaboration, because sometimes people need to be together in in a way so that they can learn something new, share with others and discuss. So as you see, last year we celebrated 30 years of Eden, and we have a number of activities. I will just remind that we had these Eden initiative webinars online together. All recordings are available, and how we contribute to the society. So basically, when pandemic started, we reacted. We put together the experts and designed small, short webinars, 1-hour webinars, which we called Online Together, in order to support education community worldwide and provide practice-oriented advices about how to do online education. And you can see we had these 3 turns. So spring series, autumn series, and spring and autumn series 2021. In altogether, we have 24 webinars, 98 speakers and moderators. So these were all people who eagerly accepted and joined to share their knowledge and expertise. And if you look how it worked, more than 5,300 people participated, and you can see Europe, even North, South America, Asia, they joined. And the motivation for participation was acquiring e-learning practical tools and best practices, and being updated regarding e-learning new trends, sharing ideas and so on. And it was a big success because the feedback was from the people who participated. I was lost. I didn't know where to look, what to find, how to do. And there was a community which shared everything, and I could talk to them. I could share my insights. I could see that other peoples are also freaking out, do not know what to do, and that we are all in this together. So this was how Eden can contribute. From this year, we started with Eden Digital Learning Europe, because Eden UK was a UK-based legal entity, and because of the Brexit, we couldn't work anymore as such. So we registered the new association in Estonia. So today it's called Eden Digital Learning Europe. And from 2022, this new association is fully functioning and working. And I would like to announce now in the June, we have Eden Annual Conference. And I know that within the conference, we have PhD Symposium for PhD students who can join and discuss their dissertations and their work in PhD. And this is free for the students. So if you are interested, go to these web pages and see the details of possible participation. It can be face-to-face, but it can be online as well. And the second announcement is we will have a research workshop in Dubrovnik in September. So the call is just going to be open for the papers. You can join. And this is basically my last slide. I just want to say progress is not possible without change. And if we cannot change our minds, then we will not be able to change everything. This is not my clever thinking, but this is citation. And now I'm going back to the Menti to see what were the results of sorry, I have more slides, but okay, to see how you voted. Okay, so far we have, okay, we are good, but not so good. Okay, but let's see, what could motivate you to use e-learning in the future? Possibility of improving the application of new technologies in the educational process, and possibility of using university resources for e-learning purposes. So these are the highest hires too. Then responsibility of teachers towards work and profession, and available and systematic support. So to think, something to think about. Thank you for your votes. Oh, you cannot see the results. Yeah, this is, now the colleague will help me so that we share the results. I told you I shared the presentation. I know that much. I know that much. Let's just give us a sec. We will share the, okay, yeah, go. Yeah, but in Italian, so I have a little, did I stop share and now sharing? Okay. Oh, this one, yeah. Sorry. This one. So do you see now the results? We have 41 results so far. I hope that they see. Yes, good. Okay, so thank you for being patient with me. I know it's not easy to listen so much, but now I'm open for all your questions and disagreement with me and everything else. So thank you.